Dawn breaks over the city of Hanyang in the year 1398. A tense hush falls upon a crowd of onlookers gathered outside the western gate. In the center stands a man bound hand and foot, General Yi Ja-heon. 4 horses, each tethered to one of his limbs, paw at the ground impatiently. Yi Ja-heon's face is ashen but resolute, lit by the first rays of morning sun. He knows this is the day he will die, and the manner of his death will be a warning etched in blood. What unfolds on this fateful morning will go down as one of the most brutal punishments in Korean history. Before we return to the harrowing scene of Yi Ja-heon's final moments, we must understand how a decorated general came to such a horrific end. It's a tale of power, betrayal, and a kingdom in turmoil. A true story from the early days of the Joseon Dynasty that is as dramatic and suspenseful as any thriller. The year is 1398, and the newly founded Joseon Dynasty is in chaos. King Taejong, Yi Ja-heon, the dynasty's founder, has united the realm only a few years prior, but now his own sons are battling for the throne. Factions at court are sharply divided. On one side is the king's powerful advisor, Do-jeon, and other high ministers. On the other side are the king's ambitious sons from his first marriage, led by the 5th prince Yi Bang-won, the future King Taejong. Each side fears the other is plotting a deadly strike. In the summer of 1398, Prince Yi Bang-won believes, or claims to believe, that Do-jeon and his allies intend to massacre the royal princes to secure power while the aging King Taejong lies ill. Whether this plot was real or a pretext, it is all the justification Bang-won needs. In what is later called the First Strife of Princes, Yi Bang-won and his brother Yi Bang-gan raise their private armies and launch a surprise coup in the royal palace. The results are swift and bloody. Bang-won's forces slaughter Do-jeon and his compatriots Nam-eun and Hyo-sayeng, eliminating the king's chief ministers in a single night of violence. The young crown prince, a son of King Taejong's second wife, is deposed and murdered, as is his younger brother. By the next day, the halls of power are littered with bodies, and the balance of power has tilted irreversibly in favor of Yi Bang-won. King Taejong, grief-stricken and horrified that his sons have spilled so much blood, abdicates the throne just weeks later. Another prince, Bang-won's older brother, is made a figurehead king, King Taejong, but everyone knows who truly controls the kingdom now. Yi Bang-won, the architect of the coup, holds the real power. In the aftermath, the new regime declares that a treasonous conspiracy had justified the coup. They pin the blame for the unrest squarely on Do-jeon and his supporters, branding them traitors to the crown. This is where General Yi Ja-heon enters the story. He was a military man who had served Joseon, possibly one of the regional commanders or a confidant to the old guard at court. In the charged atmosphere following the coup, anyone associated with the traitor ministers or opposed to Yi Bang-won's faction fell under deep suspicion. General Yi Ja-heon's exact actions during the coup are shrouded in the haze of history. Some say he was loyal to Do-jeon, or simply loyal to King Taejong and the established order. Others suggest he hesitated to choose a side at all until it was too late. What we do know is that after Yi Bang-won's violent seizure of power, Yi Ja-heon was accused of high treason. Perhaps he was accused of conspiring with Do-jeon's camp to eliminate the royal princes, the very crime that Bang-won himself committed in reverse. Or perhaps Yi Ja-heon voiced opposition to the coup, making him a threat to the new regime's legitimacy. In a palace coup, perception is often fatal. To the victors, any remaining rival or outspoken general could be painted as a conspirator. Under the new government, an example had to be made. Yi Ja-heon and the puppet King Taejong moved quickly to consolidate their tenuous hold on power. Punishments were doled out to strike terror into the hearts of any would-be rebels. Yi Ja-heon, once a respected general, was now cast as a vile traitor to king and country. He was swiftly found guilty of plotting rebellion, likely in a hurried trial, if one can even call it a trial, where his fate was a foregone conclusion. The punishment for treason in Joseon was among the harshest imaginable, reserved for those who threatened the state or committed heinous crimes against the royal family. In fact, as early as 1397, Joseon's law codes prescribed dismemberment for the worst offenders, those guilty of rebellion or grave sedition. This punishment, inherited from centuries of tradition, was chilling in its brutality. Commonly known as geoyeolhyeong, or execution by quartering, it involved tying the condemned person's limbs, and sometimes the neck, to multiple oxen or horses, and then literally tearing their body apart. It was a form of execution intended not only to kill, but to utterly destroy and disgrace, used only for the most egregious traitors. Joseon Dynasty records confirm that dismemberment by pulling apart the body was one of two main forms of capital punishment in that era, the other being beheading or strangulation for less serious offenses. Treason, however, fell into the gravest category, warranting no ordinary death. And so the sentence for General Yi Ja-heon was set. He would be torn apart alive by horses. To the modern mind, this sentence is almost unbelievable in its cruelty. But in the volatile climate of 1398, it served a clear political purpose. Such a spectacle of suffering would send an unmistakable message. This is the fate of anyone who challenges the new order. Yi Ja-heon, who had gone from royal prince to shadow ruler overnight, needed to cement his rule through fear. The gruesome execution of Yi Ja-heon was about to provide exactly that. It is a cold morning in late 1398. The site of the execution is a public square just outside one of the city gates of Hansong, Seoul, possibly Seosomun Gate, a place infamously used for public punishments. Soldiers stand guard in a ring, containing the throng of spectators who have been summoned or compelled to witness today's event. These spectators range from high officials to ensure they observe what happens to traitors, to curious commoners who have never seen such a horrifying punishment before. Many in the crowd shiver, and not just from the autumn chill. Whispers pass among them. Have you ever seen a geoyeolhyeong carried out? They say the condemned is drawn and quartered alive. This general must have done something truly terrible. In their midst, Yi Ja-heon is brought forward. The general has been kept in prison awaiting this day. He is bruised and haggard from torture and sleepless nights, but he refuses to bow his head. If he has any last words, the records do not tell us. Perhaps he tries to shout his innocence or curse the officials who condemned him. Perhaps, in dignified silence, he locks eyes with the horizon, determined not to give his enemies the satisfaction of seeing his fear. One account imagines Yi Ja-heon biting down on his lip hard enough to draw blood, vowing not to scream when the end comes. He is tied spread-eagle to 4 stout ropes. At the other end of each rope, a horse stamps and snorts, harnessed and ready. The executioners, grim men appointed to this ghastly task, check each knot carefully. A hush falls. In that breathless moment, the only sounds are the champing bits and heavy breathing of the horses and the occasional sob or prayer from onlookers. Some in the crowd cannot watch and turn away, trembling. Others, morbidly transfixed, stare wide-eyed at the stage of death before them. At a signal from the official in charge, perhaps a minister of justice reading out the crime and sentence one final time, the horses are prodded simultaneously. What happens next is almost too appalling to describe. The horses surge in 4 different directions, yanking the ropes taut. Yi Ja-heon's limbs are pulled outwards with sudden, brutal force. His body twists in unnatural angles. For one dreadful instant, his screams, if indeed he could hold them in no longer, mingle with the gasp and cries of the crowd. With a sickening sound, the forces of man and beast rend flesh and snap bone. Yi Ja-heon is literally torn apart, his arms and legs ripped from his body in a spray of blood. Those closest to the front recoil in horror as the general's life is violently extinguished. Historical texts note that in such executions, dismemberment was carried out publicly, and the severed body parts might be displayed as a warning. It's likely that Yi Ja-heon's remains, what remained of them, were lifted up for the crowd to see, or later hung at the city gates, a common practice called hyosu, displaying the head or body of an executed traitor. The stench of blood fills the cold air. Some spectators wail or faint. Others stand in stunned silence, as pale as the executioner's hemp robe. The message, however, is loud and clear. Yi Ja-heon's executioners have made him an example. No one present could doubt the power of the state, or rather the power of Yi Bang-won and the new regime, to crush anyone in its path. Treason will be met with merciless destruction. This was the lesson written in the general's blood that day. In the wake of Yi Ja-heon's gruesome death, a chill settled over the court and capital. The brutality of the execution had been deliberate theater. For those who might have been secretly loyal to the late Do-jeon or King Taejong's line, there was now no mistaking what defiance would cost. Yi Bang-won continued to hunt down and eliminate other potential rivals in the following years. In 1400, another coup attempt by Prince Yi Bang-gan and his ally Park Po was swiftly crushed. Bang-gan was exiled and General Park Po was executed for high treason as well. The early Joseon Dynasty would indeed be built atop a foundation of such purges and bloodshed. Yet, even in an age accustomed to harsh punishments, the execution of Yi Ja-heon stood out for its cruelty. It became a whispered cautionary tale. True crime enthusiasts of the time, had there been such a thing, would have spoken of it with a shudder. The controversy lingered too. Was Yi Ja-heon truly a traitor who deserved this appalling fate, or was he simply a convenient scapegoat, eliminated by an increasingly tyrannical faction? History offers no clear answer. What is clear is that the violence of that period affected even King Taejong, who never reconciled with Yi Bang-won's actions. The old king would die a few years later, estranged and in sorrow. For nearly 5 centuries after, Joseon's law continued to permit quartering and dismemberment for the most heinous crimes, though it was used sparingly. It wasn't until 1894 that such punishments were formally abolished. The tale of General Yi Ja-heon serves as a grisly milestone, a reminder of a time when maintaining power was a matter of life and death, and when the drama of Korean history rivaled the darkest of tragedies. In the end, Yi Ja-heon's story is more than just an account of a man's execution. It is the story of a nascent kingdom's deadly struggles. His gruesome death symbolized the ruthless measures those in power would use to safeguard their rule. As you picture that silent, cold morning in 1398, with the kingdom's future teetering and a man's body literally pulled apart by horses, you witness the terrifying intersection of politics and punishment. It's a scene that, once imagined, is not easily forgotten, much like the legacy of Yi Ja-heon's execution itself. History, as they say, is written in blood, and on that day the blood spelled out a warning to all Joseon. Defy the throne and face a fate more horrible than death. The fate of Yi Ja-heon ensured that for years to come, long after the blood was scrubbed from the stones, The very mention of his name would send a chill down the spine of anyone who valued their life in the kingdom of Joseon.